Hello everybody. Today we are looking at a new acquisition. This is Napoleon Returns 1815 by Worthington Press. Let's take a look and see what's inside the box. It is a very nice box with nice cover art and all the usual stuff on the back. Pictures of the counters or pictures of the pieces, etc. All right, so inside it looks like we've got two sets of rules and 2 player aid cards, and it looks like we've got the pieces that represent the various armies, Prussian, Allied, and then the French. And then we've got the map. We'll take a look at this. This is a mounted map board. And then we've got our components here. Looks like we've got our different wooden pieces that represent the different cores, as well as a beautiful looking die. Just joking, it's not the most attractive die in the world, but it'll work. Let's see, and then we've got some other little counters, and then we've got the playing deck, and then some baggies to put it all in after we're done. So let's take the components out and see what it looks like. All right, so let's take a look at the components. Here I've got things more or less set up. The little cubes that come with the game are used as markers to indicate damage or loss of cohesion for the different corps that are represented in the various armies. So as they, lose value, you're just going to move this piece down to the next box until they run out, and then they are eliminated. If we look over here at the board, we can see the pieces out, and it's a pretty good sized board. It's got most of the major cities and towns there in that part of southern Belgium, and then some of the ones here along the French border where Napoleon is going to deploy. And then you can see the pieces themselves are very nice, substantial little wooden blocks with the core identification embossed on them, which is rather nice. And we've got the various French corps and the Prussians and then the British. Now, if you're going to be playing this game with another person, it can be played with 2 players or even 3 players. 1 player would be French, and then one's playing the British and Dutch allies. The other one's playing the Prussians. The idea would be that you would have these blocks turned away, so that way you can see them if you're on that side of the table, but your opponent can't see them from where they're at. So there's a certain amount of fog of war with that. Now, looking at some of the other components here, we've got the player aid card, and this is really nice. It's the historical setup. So basically you just plunk everything down. It tells you where it's at, plus it shows you on this map. It took me the whole of maybe a minute and a half to set everything up. And then on the back side here, we've got information about the sequence of play and other kind of handy things to keep in mind, maybe as quick reference for the players. So there's a card for both players, so the setup is easy, and references are easy too. All right, the next thing we have are the cards themselves. So these are actually very nice quality cards. Looks like they're pretty durable. This particular ones that I have here are the French objective cards. So at the beginning of the game, the French are going to draw 2 of these 5 objectives. So 4 of them have to do with capturing towns or cities that are on the board, such as Brussels, Antwerp, Liège, or Ghent, or destroying 3 of the 8 enemy army corps. So I kind of like this because you don't know what your objectives are going to be. The Allied player doesn't know what the French objectives are, so you draw 2 of these and kind of keep them secret. And I think from a sort of replayability standpoint, being able to have different objectives each game is going to lend itself to having this game played over and over again, because it's going to be different each time as you get different objectives for the French player. Now, looking at the combat cards, we've got a whole stack of these. You're going to be drawing these different cards when you do your battle. So when you and your opponent meet in the same location, then you guys will shuffle these up and pull them out, and you kind of play them. So some of these counter each other, and then if you've got the right card, you can counter the card that your opponent has, and try to see, if you can end up winning or having success in the battle. If you're successful, then you hold that space, and the opponent is going to take losses, cohesion losses, and have to retreat. So lots of cards, nice quality cards here as well. All right, so the next thing to look at is the rules themselves, and they are pretty simple and straightforward. I happen to have looked at them online before I purchased the game. They had a PDF that you could read through, and so I kind of like the mechanics of the game, and the components looked really appealing, which is why I chose to purchase it. They've got some nice samples of play here, full color, and then kind of go into details with the combat. So I mean, altogether we're about 7, 8 pages altogether for the game. So pretty easy to read through, pretty easy to play. We're going to kind of go through a couple of sample turns here and kind of play it out and see how it is, but looks like a very nice game, good production value, and then we'll see how it plays as a game. All right, so the French randomly drew Liège and Brussels as their objectives. So if we're looking at the map, Liège is over here where the Prussians are deployed, and of course Brussels is over here in the center of the map where Wellington and the reserve are. So it's going to be kind of interesting to try to figure out how to get from there to there or from there to there. The idea is that at the end of the game, which is 15 turns long, or you would need to hold those 2 locations, or if you can hold both of them simultaneously anytime earlier in the game, you'll have achieved your objectives, and you're the winner. You can also achieve victory if you eliminate 4 of the enemy corps. So for the French, that might be destroying 2 British and 2 Prussian corps. And of course for the Allies, it's the same thing. They can claim an automatic victory if they're able to reduce or destroy 4 French corps. Of course, for the Allies, Their victory is if they are able to prevent the French from having a victory, they're the winners. So it's pretty straightforward victory conditions. Either the French achieve their objectives and win, or they lose and the Allies win. So the principal goal for the Allies is to thwart the thwart the French. And of course, they don't know what the objective is, but they're going to do their best, I guess. Here we go.